Welcome back to the 34th online episode of Peacetime, hosted every Sunday morning.
Hello, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Peacetime session, Before Birth, with Venerable Nicholas. If it's your first time here, welcome, and if you're just returning, welcome again. So currently our schedules are Sunday mornings and Thursday evenings, Sundays starting at 9:30 and Thursday starting at 8 p.m. or 9:30 a.m. and 8 p.m. on Thursdays Pacific time. Typically, when we have these peacetime sessions, Venerable Nicholas, we start with a short stretching, and then we go on to Venerable Nicholas, who will give a brief of a Dhamma wisdom talk, and then he will lead us in guided meditation. So before we begin our 8th month of the year, happy August 1st, everyone. I'd like you all to just take the time to stretch a little bit before we start settling down for Venerable Nicholas. And in case you forget, Venerable Nicholas really loves answering some questions. So you can check out his content on his YouTube channel or on the Peace Point Meditation YouTube channel, Facebook page, and website. There's also our Mind Gem app and mindgem.com. It's a online resource for those of you who are looking for more meditation techniques, tips, and just to build a meditation community to help get you motivated to meditate each and every day for yourselves. Check it out. Okay, so before we begin, let's get stretching.
The next few poses will be done in a standing position. Please move slowly and at your own pace. Keep the sturdy chair nearby for balance if needed. If you find that I'm talking faster than you are moving, please take your time and do fewer repetitions. Take a nice deep inhale and exhale. Place the feet about hips width apart and grounded on the floor. Lift the toes and spread them nice and wide and feel the navel pull gently in towards the spine. Push the toes into the floor and lean forward just a little bit. Feel the muscles that keep you steady. Lean back just a little bit and feel the toes come up. Feel the muscles that keep you steady in this position. Now push all four corners of the feet into the floor. Notice the steadiness of mountain pose. Notice how the steadiness of mountain pose feels. On the next inhale, roll the shoulders towards the ears, back and down so the shoulders are slightly open. Let the palms rest open to the side. Inhale and let the arms rise with the palms facing up. Exhale, bend at the elbows and allow the hands to come down the center line. Sink into the knees just a little. Repeat this again. Inhale, lift the arms with the palms facing up. Allow the hands and face to be relaxed. Continue with this movement at your own pace. Breathe as you move and try to coordinate the breath with the movement. On the next breath, lift the arms back over the head. Fingertips point in, palms face up. Imagine that you have candles in the palms of your hands and you do not want to spill them. Turn the fingertips so they face behind you. The palms remain up. Turn the fingertips to the side and then to the front like an offering, then out to the side walls. Breathe as you move, up to the top with the fingers facing in again, towards one another, and then forwards like an offering, then out to the side walls. Breathe as you move, up to the top with the fingers facing in again. Let's do this rotation one more time. After the second rotation, allow the hands to cascade down by the side and let them rest. Pause for one slow inhale and exhale. One more breath. Inhale, exhale. This next exercise is excellent for strengthening the spine and gently stretching the muscles of the back, front, and sides. Attempt to make the movement easeful and gentle. We will do these movements with various arm positions. The first arm position is the easiest. Please be sure to stay with the one that feels best for your body. We will demonstrate them all. Take the right hand to the waist and then the left. Roll the shoulders open. And on the exhale, lean to the right. Inhale to the center. On the exhale, lean to the left. Inhale back to the center. Roll the shoulders up, back, and down. And on the next inhale, gently pull the navel towards the spine. Pull the shoulder blades softly together. Get a small lift in the chin and feel a sense of lengthening through the front of the body. On the next exhale, begin to fold gently forward. It does not have to be all the way. Bend the knees slightly. Inhale and rise back to a standing position. Open the left arm to the side. Keep the elbow bent. Leave the right hand on the waist. Inhale. Exhale, lean slightly to the right, and then return back to the center. Bring the left hand down to the waist. Lift the right arm. Inhale. Exhale and lengthen to the left. Return to the center. Roll the shoulders open. Gently pull the navel in towards the spine. Pull the shoulder blades softly together. Get a small lift in the chin. Exhale and fold forward halfway. Inhale back to standing. Open the left arm again. Inhale, and on the exhale, lean to the right. Inhale and return back to the center. Place the left hand on the waist. Lift the right arm. Inhale. On the exhale, lean to the left. Inhale and return back to the center. Roll the shoulders open. Lengthen through the front of the body. Slightly pull the shoulder blades together. Get a small lift in the chin. Exhale and fold forward. Knees slightly bent. Inhale and return to standing in mountain pose. Pause for a moment. Inhale and exhale. For this warrior sequence, attempt to keep the movements gentle and relaxed. If you notice that you are struggling, move the feet closer together. Lower the arms or make the movements smaller. This pose is great for strengthening the legs, respiration, and opening the shoulders. Step the left foot forward just a few feet. The back foot points in at a 45-degree angle. The front knee bends and the hips face front if possible. Inhale, open the arms and bend at the elbows. On the exhale, bring the hands and elbows towards each other. Inhale, open the arms and push the heart softly forwards. Relax the shoulders. Exhale, bring the arms together. Inhale, open the arms to where you feel comfortable. Exhale, relax the arms inwards. Inhale, open and expand. Exhale, contract. Inhale, exhale. Bring the hands back down by the side, return to mountain pose. One breath here. Inhale, exhale. Step the right foot forward. Take a moment, there's no rush. Ground the back foot into the floor. Bend the front knee. When you are ready, open the arms. Inhale. Exhale, bring the hands and elbows towards one another. Inhale, open the arms. This is a relaxed opening in the chest. Exhale, bring the hands and arms towards one another. Inhale, repeat again, creating spaciousness with a full inhale. Exhale, contract and relax the arms slightly. 2 more times at your own pace. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. Let the hands rest down by the side and return back to mountain pose. Pause here for a few breaths.
Welcome back to the 34th online episode of Peacetime, hosted every Sunday morning by Peace Point with myself, Phra Nicholas Thanissaro, live streaming from Dhamma International Meditation Center in Azusa, California. Last time you saw me, we looked at 31 realms of existence. With the Dhamma talk today, we will continue with our exploration of living Buddhism with the topic of before birth. So today's session will run to about an hour and 10 minutes, with 25 minutes on previous lives and karma across lifetimes, 20 minutes of meditation, and then finishing up with 25 minutes of conclusions, questions sent in by viewers, and news updates. As usual this session, I would encourage you to send in any questions you have by emailing me at peacetime.questions@gmail.com. so that I can have a shot at answering those questions next time round. The previous session examined the Buddhist perspective on where we go after we die, and this session completes the picture of purpose and ideal trajectory through human life by examining how Buddhists believe people arrived in this life at birth. Besides showing why human life is considered a privileged status in the cycle of existence, this session will also explore the logic of how a person can evolve as the result of their rebirths. Buddhists consider new life in the human or animal realm to be the result of the coming together or conception of a suitably matching body and mind. Once the coming together has taken place, After a longer or shorter gestation, depending on the type of body and the mode of birth, the being then appears to the world by a process of birth. Whether a being's mind is attracted to be born in the bodily container of a parrot, an angel, or a human would depend on the relative proportions of greed, hatred, and delusion remaining in their mind. There are many modes or yoni by which beings can be born in the world. Of those visible to the naked eye, Buddhism recognizes 3 different modes of birth: hatching from an egg or antacha, such as birds, lizards, and snakes; birth from the womb or chalapucha, such as mammals; and arising in dampness or moisture or sansetacha, such as prokaryotic organisms like paramecia. Hatching from an egg and birth from the womb are the results of sexual reproduction. Arising in dampness or moisture is the result of asexual reproduction. More surprisingly, according to Buddhism, there is also a 4th mode of birth which generally applies to birth where there is no physical body, namely spontaneous arising in adult form, or opapatika, that applies to angels, gods, and denizens of the unfortunate realms. Of the 31 realms of existence claimed by Buddhism, only 2, in other words animals and humans, are visible to the naked eye, which is 2 divided by 31, or 4% of visible reality. The remaining 96% is a figure which incidentally is similar in proportion to the matter and energy that exists in the universe, but which is invisible, and which cosmologists most recently account for by invoking dark matter and energy, as outlined in Richard Panik's 2011 book, The 4% Universe. What we've talked about so far is where we go when we die, but something which we haven't addressed yet is where we come from before we're born. Often in the Western world, we think of a child as being like a clean slate coming into the world without any background, as if they are innocent when they come into the world. According to Western thinking, because they are born innocent, nothing bad that happens to a child could ever be deserved. But in Buddhism, we have a different way of looking at it. We say the child of today is not only the adult of tomorrow. Because of rebirth, the child of today is also the adult of yesterday. So every child brings a past with it into the world. This is why bad things can apparently happen to good people, such as when innocent children are born with disabilities or die prematurely. So where do we get our information to back up such seemingly outrageous claims? It turns out that thousands of children under the age of 8 years are able to remember and describe with surprising precision events which took place before their present life. Children with such memory abilities have been able to describe who they were in previous lives, which house they lived in, and what they did. These testimonies have often been cross-checked by comparison with records of the person they claim to have been. Such an example is that of Indika Ishwara of Sri Lanka, who was able to remember verifiable details of his life as a boy Darshana, who had died 4 years previously in Ambalangoda, which Jim Tucker described in his 2005 book, Life Before Life. Indika was born in 1972. When he was 3 years old, he began talking about a previous life experience. He said that he was from Balapitiya, a town nearly 30 miles from his hometown. He talked about his previous parents. He did not give their names, but he referred to them as his Ambalangoda mother and Ambalangoda father. He said that he attended a big school in Ambalangoda, a larger town near to Balapitiya, and he traveled there by train. He claimed that he had an older sister named Malakanti, with whom he traveled by train to school. He mentioned that the family were wealthier than the present one, as they had cattle and 2 motor vehicles at their home. His previous home was on the electricity grid, unlike the rural house where he now lived. He said that he had attended school through 4th grade. Indika's family did not know anyone who lived in Ambalangoda, but they agreed to try to locate the previous personality's family based on what Indika had said. A friend quickly located a family in Balapitiya who seemed to fit Indika's statements. Their oldest son, Darshana, had indeed died at age 10 of viral encephalitis, 4 years before Indika was born. The present-day father made an unannounced trip to Indika's hometown. He went to the shop of Indika's father. While he was waiting there for someone to take him to the family's home, he asked an employee if the family had a daughter called Malakanti, since Indika had spoken of her. The employee confirmed the daughter's name and then took Indika's father to the family's home. Later, Indika was brought to meet the Ambalangoda family, at the time when he was not yet 4 years old. Indika appeared to recognize his former father, because even though he did not call him by name directly, he exclaimed, "Father has come." On his second visit to Darshana's family, Indika appeared to be looking for something outside the house in the family's compound. He discovered what he had been looking for and pointed out Darshana's name and the date, 1965, that had been scratched, presumably by Darshana, on the wall of a concrete drain when the concrete was still wet. No one in Darshana's family knew about this or had ever noticed the writing until Indika pointed it out to them. It was also confirmed that the older sister was named Malakanti, and they did travel to school on the train together. Darshana had met his end by falling from a wall during a wedding, sustaining a head injury that was later became infected with encephalitis. How Indika could possibly have known all these details about an ordinary boy who died in another village almost 30 miles away is certainly worth wondering about. Although there are many cases described by this group of researchers from the University of Virginia, none of the pairings of cases with previous lives have exceeded the time lapse of more than 2 generations, which makes sense in keeping with the Buddhist assumption that these life-before-life cases represent relatively rare occurrences of a human lifetime being followed immediately by rebirth again as a human being. If there had been an intervening lifetime in heaven or hell realms, the delay between lifetimes would run to a minimum of thousands of years, exceeding the memory of any living witness. Nonetheless, this body of knowledge fits with the Buddhist view that birth is not the beginning of any person's journey through existence and death is not the end of it. 2 sessions ago, we described 3 possible afterlife destinations indicated by near-death experiences: non-return or rebirth in fortunate or unfortunate realms. For those who have come to an end of defilements according to the Buddhist teachings, the mind leaves the body and will not return to be born anymore. However, for everyone else who has still not come to an end of defilements, there is still more rebirth ahead of them in the afterlife. Those whose mind is dominated by unwholesomeness will spend their time in the unfortunate realms. Those who still have some defilements in mind, but for whom merit dominates the mind, will spend their time in the fortunate realms. In Buddhist cosmology, no one can stay in the fortunate realms or the unfortunate realms indefinitely, since when the effects of each being's good or bad karma run out, they must return again to the human realm. Even for those who have been born in the fortunate realms, after having depleted the subtle component of their merit, the remainder will send them back to be born as human beings, because they have still not come to the end of their defilements and cannot yet go to nirvana. When those in the unfortunate realms have used up all their due demerit, then they too will come back to be born as human beings. But human beings who have their origins in the fortunate realms and those who have their origins in the unfortunate realms are physically indistinguishable. Nonetheless, they bring different advantages and disadvantages to their human birth. Buddhists see death and birth as two sides of the same process of transmigration of the mind from one body to another. During a human lifetime, a person will pursue good and bad deeds, the balance of which determines the quality of the mind and accumulated karma. Quality of mind and karma determine afterlife destination or whether rebirth is to be escaped altogether. Humans are generally not reborn as humans immediately, but must spend some time in the fortunate or unfortunate realms. At the end of this period, they will gravitate back to the human realm, being attracted by a magnetism based on the affinity of a child's and parental states of mind at that moment. In other words, the prospective child must find like-minded or compatible parents. The physical makeup of the like-minded parents will determine the physical makeup of the new being. This conception is the conjoining of the mind with a new physical body. After a period of gestation, the new being will be born. Putting origins and the destinations together, the Dhamma Sutta, found in both the Anguttara and Samyutta Nikayas, describes 4 possible trajectories through the cycle of existence in the human realm. The first of the 4 trajectories is out of the darkness and into the light. The slide shows a pagoda, which is our usual representation of the Buddhist cosmos, where the human realm is bell-shaped, with fortunate realms above and unfortunate realms below. This human trajectory is where people use their human life to turn over a new leaf on their unskillful past, doing only good deeds and thereafter, hopefully, progressing only between the fortunate realms and the human realm from that lifetime forth. Even though they may be short of merit at birth or neglected by their parents, but given good surroundings or perhaps kind grandparents, and with a willingness to resist the temptation to relapse into old habits, they might have the opportunity to do a lot of good deeds during their life, but they will have to prepare themselves to meet up with many obstacles. Every time they think of doing something good, for example, when they want to give alms, there may be no monks available, or it might be raining heavily. However, if they keep up the effort, in the end they will be able to accumulate merit for themselves, until at the end of their life they can make it to the fortunate realms. However, it is not many people who can transform their destinies for the better in such a way. Most are hopelessly handicapped by circumstances since birth. Nonetheless, the opportunity is there for those willing to confront adversity. The second of the 4 trajectories is where beings descend from light into darkness. This is where people waste their chance as a human and simply use their privilege and their charmed life to exploit those around them. The bad karma they amass for themselves will subsequently drag them down into the netherland of bad rebirth for hundreds of thousands of lifetimes. Instead of building upon their advantage to further their goodness, they think to themselves, what's the point of doing any good deeds? Even without lifting a finger, everything has automatically been easy for me since birth. With this attitude, they spend their time drunk and playing around in life, doing no more good deeds and even doing unscrupulous things. This is why when they pass away, instead of returning to the fortunate realms, they end up in the unfortunate realms instead. The third of the 4 trajectories through the human realm is where people are born out of darkness into darkness. When born in the human realm, their old weaknesses gain the upper hand, and again they waste their opportunity as a human, doing no further good deeds until they are eventually relegated back into the unfortunate realms they originally came from. The final of the four trajectories is where people are born out of the light and pass away into the light. At the crossroads of destiny represented by the human realm, they use the power of the good deeds they have accumulated over the course of many lifetimes to progress closer to nirvana. Of course, they have many advantages because their parents have prepared everything well in advance. They have the best of opportunities and things to facilitate their pursuit of good deeds. It is like a chalice filled almost to the brim at birth. It takes only a few more drops for it to overflow. Everything they wish to do is accomplished with ease. However, even such people cannot afford to be complacent. No matter whether a person has arisen in the human realm by way of the fortunate or unfortunate realms, as a Buddhist, they cannot afford to be reckless. Buddhists who understand the working of the cycle of existence try to make sure that they are always born out of the light and into the light, never straying outside the two worlds, which means the heaven realms and the human realms. The human realm is thus considered to be like a common market or a crossroads. Irrespective of people's origin, all have the chance to better their destiny. Buddhists see maintaining and upgrading one's destiny as the basic purpose of human life, in spite of the relatively short length of the human lifespan. There's a traditional story about a princess who just recently passed away from the human realm and immediately arose in the fourth level of heaven. But even though she was in heaven, surrounded by the ultimate in sense pleasures, she was still very much in love with the prince she had left behind in the human realm. So, as she was biding her time in the heaven realm and picking flower blossoms, like you do, suddenly, because of her intention, she arose in the human realm again and lived out a full length of life in the human realm, of course continuing to do lots of good deeds again, and then ended up back in exactly the same level of heaven that she was in before. And do you know what her fellow angels asked her? Well, they asked her, "Where did you disappear to for the last few minutes?" Well, for that few minutes in heaven, she had lived out a whole lifetime in the human realm. This is why Dhammakaya devotees like to say that our entire human lifespan here on earth involves disappearing for only 6 hours from the fourth level of heaven. So in this 6 hours, let's see how much merit we can accumulate during our short absence from the heaven realm. In conclusion to what we have described so far, although human life is full of suffering, it is still considered by Buddhists to be a privilege and a rare and precious opportunity. When a person arises in the human realm, it's said that this is in fact something which is very rare. You might think, well, there's plenty of people in the world, all 7.6 billion of them. It must mean that to be a human being is quite common. But if you compare the number of human beings with, for example, the number of termites or ants or mosquitoes in the rainforest, you'll see that in fact human beings are still comparatively rare, like a drop in the ocean compared to those other forms of life, even the ones that we can see with the naked eye. Moreover, if you were to compare the number of people with the number of beings in other realms which we cannot see, then the proportion is even smaller. Do you know how rare it is to be born as a human? Well, there's a metaphor used in the Samyutta Nikaya's Chigala Sutta that says the chance to be born as a human is as rare as a blind sea turtle which comes up for air once every 100 years, accidentally happening to put its head through the hole in the middle of a single flower garland floating in the ocean. That is the chance of being born as a human being. So the other 30 realms, especially the unfortunate ones, are seething with beings by comparison. Being born a human is comparatively rare, and when the average human lifespan is relatively short at only 70 years, compared with the million or billion year lifespans in other realms, the time we are alive as a human should be considered precious and put to the maximum use in cultivating good deeds. We are now becoming more familiar with the idea that things done in one lifetime can have effects across lifetimes. The aspect of actions done in one lifetime giving effects in future lifetimes actually gives us a third category of ways to look at how karma acts. When categorizing karma in a previous session, we talked about the strength of the karma, according to the bullet, if you remember. Heavy karma, the karma near to death, habitual karma, and unintentional karma. After that, we looked at the role of karma in combination, whether it is main karma, obstructing karma, consolidating karma, or terminating karma. Today we come to a third way of categorizing karma, again with 4 categories, to do with the length of time it takes for a particular instance of karmic action to give its retribution. Some things which we do in this life give the result immediately in this lifetime. I already told you the story about the man who plowed the fields and they turned to gold. Mr. Puna the plowman who became Mr. Puna the millionaire. This is an example of karma which gave its results in that same lifetime. However, this doesn't happen very often, perhaps only 10% of the time if you're lucky. Or if it does happen at all, then you get only 10% of the retribution back now, and another 90% will give its fruit later. And by later, I mean probably in the next lifetime. So, for example, a person who has done a lot to encourage their friends to go to the temple this lifetime may find that they gain slightly more friends already in the present lifetime. But when they get reborn in the heaven realms, they have a huge retinue of angels which accompanies them everywhere, an angelic host in other words. This would be an example of karma which gives most of its results next lifetime. Sometimes karma may skip lifetimes, so you do it this lifetime, but it doesn't give the result next lifetime, but in lifetimes after that. This is yet another reason why it's very hard to understand karma simplistically, because what you receive now may be coming not just from last lifetime, but from lifetimes before that as well, and combining in ways which we can't imagine. Finally, some karma may not give results at all, what we call defunct karma. I already told you the story about Angulimala, who murdered 999 innocent people, and yet all the retribution he received for that was that in the present lifetime he got a broken bowl and he got sticks and stones thrown at him. But the major brunt of his karma became defunct karma because he got enlightened before the karma could catch up with him. So it didn't have any forwarding address anymore for the karma to catch up with him, so it became defunct karma. So now that we know the precious opportunity of being born in the human realm and the effects of karma across lifetimes, let's take a break halfway for some meditation, which today is entitled The Homecoming of the Mind. So at this time, we settle ourselves down for 20 minutes of meditation. If you would like to find a comfortable sitting position for yourself now, as you listen to my guidance. So we start by adjusting ourselves to a comfortable sitting position, whether we're sitting on a chair or on the floor. We set aside a little bit of time to adjust our body. It's good to keep our back fairly straight. And we sit in the most comfortable position, in the position by which we feel that we could sit the longest or without needing to move around too much. You can sit on the floor by sitting cross-legged and putting your right leg on top of the left. Alternatively, you can sit on a chair by sitting up straight, but not quite bolt upright. Whatever posture you choose, put your right hand on top of the left hand, with the index finger of the right hand gently touching the thumb of your left hand, and lay your hands palm upwards on your lap. We join our hands together in this way because if the index finger slips away from the thumb, it will give us advance warning of napping on the job. And we breathe deeply to ourselves. We allow ourselves to feel the breath softly making its way through our nostrils, through our airways to the space within our belly. Breathing deeply to ourselves, we feel the air filling our lungs slowly, expanding our chest and leveling our shoulders. From there, we exhale softly and gently. As we exhale, we may feel that our entire body is fully settled, relaxed, and content. From there, we come to the time for our mind to make its way to its true home, the place where it belongs, at the source of our own inner peace. So we close our eyes very gently. We close our eyes gently, softly, in the very same way we'd close our eyes to go to sleep. We close our eyes gently, making sure that we don't close them too tightly. We don't put any pressure on our eyelids or squeeze our eyes shut. We just allow our eyelids to droop. And this is the very first step on our journey of homecoming for the mind. And we gently bring our attention back to become aware of our sensations. We can do that simply by observing our sitting posture and taking a little bit of time to adjust it to perfection, just in case any part of us is feeling blocked, tense, or tight. Continue adjusting our body until our circulation is unimpeded from top to toe. Once we find ourselves in a relaxed sitting posture, we can relax further by releasing tension in every single muscle. From there, we turn to relaxing every single part of our body. And to this end, we do a body scan, starting from the top of our head, as we bring our attention back to relax it there. And slowly move our attention down to relax the forehead. Gently move on down to the eyes, nose, down to both of our cheeks, all the way to the chin. Feeling that the muscles of our face are entirely relaxed. We gently shift our attention to relax the back of our head down through our neck. We let the flow of relaxation continue to spread down through both shoulders, along both arms to our hands, until we can feel that tension is dissipated from our fingertips. We continue on down by turning our attention to relax our chest. We let the stream of relaxation move down to the abdomen, hips, thighs, knees, calves and feet, all the way to the tips of our toes. We confirm our entire body feels relaxed, with every muscle loosened up completely and feeling at ease. And when our body is comfortable, it will feel spacious inside. It will feel as if the boundaries of our body have gradually disappeared and everything seems to become alive, spacious, and refreshed. In the same way that our body needs to become relaxed for meditation, we also need to free the mind from any worries, frustration, irritation, or any other problems which we might be keeping suppressed, feeling that we are shedding them all, unburdening our mind and letting go. Whatever negativity may still be lurking in our mind, we let ourselves become free of it completely. The real origin of freedom is a mind that has unburdened itself from all negativity, but it's as simple as spring cleaning our mind from that negativity one step at a time. Once all negativity has been released, there will be a space within for peace, purity, happiness, and wisdom to arise. For the moment, let us free ourselves from all potential disturbance, letting go completely. And that is the beginning of the mind's homecoming, of its journey toward inner peace. And now we conjure up the feeling that we're filling up every single cell of our body with a feeling of joy, serenity, and happiness, until we feel peace pervading every last cell of our body. We empty our mind of all thoughts by engaging instead with our feelings, our sensations, our awareness. We gently gather together our awareness, sensation, or consciousness at the center of our abdomen. And now that we feel relaxed and comfortable, we let our attention engage with that sense of comfort. Whenever that sense of comfort goes missing, we can gently make an adjustment at any time to return ourselves to this state of relaxation, so that our homecoming journey toward peace can be unhindered. So we imagine that we're sitting alone, high on a mountain, with an uninterrupted view to the horizon. You're sitting alone without feeling at all lonely, alone but content. On the top of the mountain, free from interference, completely carefree, with a slight breeze blowing right through your body. Your body feels light in weight, soft, as if your body is floating weightlessly, melting away into the atmosphere. Feel a sense of relaxation from the inside, completely carefree, completely relaxed. We picture ourselves as if we're sitting alone in an empty space, feeling the surrounding space extends all the way to the horizon. We allow ourselves to be at the middle of that space. But just like when we are sitting at peace, gazing upon the full moon on the horizon, in that space there is no disturbance, no intrusion, It's our private haven of peace where we can be entirely ourselves. And here in this space, we continue to free our mind from any negativity, feeling that we are becoming one with the nature around us, with the air, with the space. The more we can let go, the lighter and more spacious our own mind will be, until we can feel that center space within ourselves, the home of the mind. So we bring the mind back home by gathering our attention and letting it rest gently at our center space within the body. The center space for the moment is any place inside us that feels tender and comfortable. We place the attention there so gently. Once our mind finds its way home, it will feel joyful and content without requiring anything more. Here everything is satisfied and replete. And then we maintain awareness of that comfort as inner peace gradually emanates from within and enfolds our own mind, embraces our consciousness so tenderly. Here is where the mind truly belongs, where peace and purity will arise. So we always stay at this point. That is our true nature, full of peace and positivity. It feels clean, pure, pristine, and unblemished. We let our own mind remain still within that center space for a few moments, letting it merge with that inner space. And at this point, as an anchor for the mind, you might like to slowly visualize or imagine a bubble that you used to play with when you were very young. A bubble that is crystal clear, floating freely and weightlessly in the air, or blowing on the breeze. Imagine that a similar such bubble settles at the center of your body, delicate and fragile. So we gently maintain the picture of the bubble inside our stomach with the gentlest possible touch. The bubble remains motionless but shimmering at the center of the abdomen, soft, delicate, and gentle. The bubble has its own illumination from the inside, and it slowly becomes brighter until it's as bright as the sun at midday, very bright. However, its brightness is cool and soothing, similar to the light of the full moon at night. It's a very gentle brightness that allows us to feel peace and a sense of ease. And it's illuminating us from the inside, from the center of our abdomen, from the center of the body, from the center of ourself. We maintain our awareness, feeling, and sensation at the center of the bubble, constantly, gently, and softly, just slightly touching that feeling at the bubble, very softly, gently, and carefully. We keep our mind calm, still, and relaxed, with a bright, clear bubble inside ourselves. We keep the mind focused in stillness, gently and softly. It's not unusual for the mind to wander or get tangled up in thought. If this should happen to you, if you start to have wandering thoughts, don't try to stop yourself thinking. just slowly guide your feeling or your mind to the bubble again, while being soft and gentle. Or you can recite a thought-blocking mantra softly, silently in your mind, by imagining that the sound of the mantra is rising up from the center of your abdomen. And you can make use of the traditional words Samma Arahang, Samma Arahang, Samma Arahang, or your own equivalent, reciting the mantra softly, slowly, and quietly inside yourself, in order to return your mind to its original unclouded state, which is clear and bright. Continue to let the mantra echo forth from the center of yourself. Samma Arahang, Samma Arahang, Samma Arahang, slowly until the mind returns to a standstill, or until you feel that the mantra is no longer necessary, in which case you can let the mantra fade into silence. Only if the wandering thoughts return may you need to resume, until your mind becomes calm, free and relaxed, clear and bright as the sun at the midday, but soothing and gentle like the moonlight. In the meantime, we continue to maintain our awareness at the center of the bubble, softly, gently, and tenderly. If we are distracted or our attention slips away, we can gently bring it back, however many times it takes. And from here, all thoughts and distractions will seem further away in the distance. From here, we simply observe our true nature of peace and tranquility, deepening, so still, so soft, so gentle. No matter what you see, or feel, or experience in your meditation, in your search for inner peace. For all of us, all we need to do is observe without overreacting to our inner experience. Just observe whatever feeling or vision you may see within a still mind. Observe passively while maintaining your awareness gently at the center of your body. As you feel a connection building up with your sense of inner peace inside, you'll start to understand what peace really is. It will give us more clarity and understanding about the nature of humanity, about how we should feel towards our fellow humanity throughout the world. As we check in with ourselves in this moment of peacefulness and serenity, in touch with ourselves on the inside, to strengthen us with the determination to continue our work, our life, our relationships with integrity and virtue. But for now, we just keep our mind still, softly, gently, and continuously, keeping it clear and bright. So for now, we focus our mind inwardly in silence as we continue our homecoming journey towards inner peace for a few more moments in silence. สัพพพุทธานุภาเวนะสัพพธัมมานุภาเวนะสัพพสังฆานุภาเวนะสัทธาโสธีภะวันตุเท So if you would like to come to the end of your meditation for today, you can gradually open your eyes again. If you feel at all uncomfortable, then slowly try changing to a more comfortable position and gently finish your practice. So to return to our subject matter for today, according to the 19th century novelist Samuel Butler, a chicken is merely an egg's way of making another egg. This remark captures the spirit of modern biology's view of life. The Buddhist view of negotiating the cycle of existence, by contrast, considers the body instead as the mind's mean of finding an end to rebirth. Evolution places great importance on natural selection and the chromosomes, factors that are effectively superfluous to a Buddhist whose concern is the cultivation of the mind, a task which may take many lifetimes to complete. Evolution is a theory to explain the variety of different forms of life and how these life forms are so well adapted to their local natural habitat. In its time, the theory of evolution was very contentious, leading to conflict with a church that taught that creation was the origin of the species. The paradigm shift of Darwin's theory of evolution was poorly received by creationists because it relegated man from his special place in relation to God and the universe to be no more than another branch of the tree of primate development. The influence of the theory of evolution did not end with the Victorians, however, because, misunderstood, misquoted, and misapplied, it has formed the basis of a multitude of pseudo-scientific assumptions that continue down to the present day. Buddhism has also appeared on the bandwagon of evolutionary ideas in recent years. The word evolution has often been substituted for development, usually with the same purposeful direction for the better, in order to give scientific credibility to religious progressives. In actual fact, the idea that evolution implies progress is incorrect, and the widespread misunderstanding by Buddhists of this point causes them to overlook the Buddha's admonition in the Parinibbana Sutta for every individual to work out their destiny with diligence, instead of hoping to be swept along by an automatic tide of human improvement. In its simplest terms, I will now try to explain the difference in emphasis between the evolutionary paradigm and the Buddhist version of the lifetime. Evolution consists of two mechanisms. In this slide, the body form is represented by the purple and the genes are represented by the orange. Firstly, the offspring born as the result of reproduction show more variation in their physical features, that is, their phenotype, than that of their parents. Secondly, because the natural environment can support only a limited proportion of the offspring, the ones to survive and reproduce themselves are the ones whose physical features make them best adapted to the environment. Evolutionary theory is based on the assumption that the majority of the animal population are involved in breeding, and that the adaptive physical features all come from genetic origin, that is, their genotype. For animals, these assumptions are not too far-fetched. Indeed, the field studies of changing fauna in changing habitats is taken as evidence that evolutionary theory can be used to predict changes in the physical features of species. Buddhism, however, has a different view of the changes which occur in the physical features of organisms and species. It does not disagree with the theory of evolution, but tries to explain more than genetically controlled qualities. Being born for an evolutionist means no more than the combination of the parental chromosomes or the genotype. Thus, any individuality a baby has must derive entirely from its heredity. To a Buddhist, by contrast, such an explanation seems to leave out the mind and any causality stemming from previous lifetimes. Such observations about the working of evolution and extinction are no more meaningful to a Buddhist than someone trying to make conclusions by counting the number of beards on the face of people around the world. Thus, I have tried to summarize how Buddhists would offer an alternative explanation for the life cycle covering all the factors evolutionists have left out. In this slide, the body is again represented by the purple, the genes are represented by the orange. What I have added in is the mind or the individual's mental component that outlives the body, here represented as a light blue circle. For Buddhists, mind quality is the most important facet of development, but remains independent from physical determinism. The actions of an individual, which we now know are stored in the mind, are considered the main origin of variety. Improvement in the quality of mind comes through good deeds. Buddhists believe that the mind comes to a new life in a form determined by actions in the previous life. Wisdom in the mind, for example, being determined by the fruits of meditation accumulated in the past life. Mind does not take on a new body randomly, however. It will be attracted to parents whose minds are of a similar quality at the time of conception. The qualities of mind have a strong influence on the body form of the newborn. Thus, whereas for evolutionists the genotype or genetic blueprint is contained in the body cells and comes from the parents, Buddhists believe that the genotype or blueprint is karmic, contained in the mind of the being seeking rebirth, and is attracting it to a couple of matching mental quality at the time of conception. Whether a being's mind is born into the bodily container of a parrot, a dinosaur, or a snake depends on the relative proportions of greed, hatred, or delusion present in the birth seeker's mind. Do Buddhists have an equivalent for the evolutionary concept of the survival of the fittest? The measure of survival in the evolutionary sense has always been the number of offspring an individual manages to produce before dying. Well-adapted beasts have many offspring. Ill-adapted beasts die without heir. Buddhists actually see their inheritance quite differently, mainly because the welfare of the individual is most important, rather than the welfare of the species. The relativity of the survival of the fittest is absent because competition between individuals doesn't affect the success in developing a better karmic blueprint. The karmic blueprint doesn't need to be passed on to offspring to survive, because it never leaves a person, even when they die. Thus, most Buddhists, unlike evolutionists, pay more attention to looking after their parents than they spend looking after their children. Most of the most revered Buddhists, in other words monks, present great problems for genetic theory because they lead a life of celibacy and have no children to show for their time on earth. The ideal trajectory for Buddhists is to follow a path out of the light and into the light. But a Buddhist's ability to succeed needs special effort and know-how. The most difficult temptation to overcome is infatuation and attachment with the body and the senses, which leads a person to spend their whole life captivated by the pleasures of the senses. It is easy to think achieving non-attachment is child's play, but to remove such attachments can be a lifetime's or many lifetimes' work. Strategies to achieve non-attachment are all those ones I have already described, namely, to avoid unwholesomeness, to do good, and to purify the mind, so that when death eventually comes, a practitioner can leave the human world triumphant. To achieve an intensity of virtue that is sequentially better lifetime by lifetime, the good deeds required are no longer amateur good deeds anymore. If you have to become a professional doer of good deeds, whatever work is left undone from a previous lifetime needs to be picked up in the next lifetime until the work is completed. If in this lifetime you welcome sharing your possessions to help others, but you would never want to shed your blood or put your life on the line to help others, you need to keep working at it. That is, working on your generosity until you can take your level of good deeds up to the next level. The next level we're talking about are no longer good deeds at the relative level of merits anymore. The good deeds we are talking about are expressed in absolute terms, being up to the task of reaching towards Buddhahood or towards enlightenment. We don't call such good deeds merit anymore, but we call them perfections. And in this connection, we will take up the subject of 10 perfections next session, because apart from helping us to see the full possible extent for human virtues, it will help us to understand why it is so amazing that anyone can manage to become a Buddha. It also helps to explain why it's worth expending so much effort to do good deeds, not just on an amateurish level, but on a professional level where you accumulate virtues continuously, lifetime by lifetime, until achieving your goal. It's estimated that even with the best of intentions, we could only ever manage to rectify 5% of any bad habits we have in a single human lifetime. This would mean that even flat out, it would take you 20 lifetimes to overcome all the faults and weaknesses in yourself. Unfortunately, most of us don't get the message early enough in life to be able to deploy our appreciation of good deeds into our daily practice. So it's going to take many more than 20 lifetimes of going to the heaven realms and coming back as a human being in order to sort out all the problems which we have in our life. So we better get ourselves settled in for the long haul if we are going to become a perfect being with no defilements anymore. So we come to the time in our live stream where we can open up to questions set in by viewers in advance. And today we have 4 questions on topics relating to the subject of rebirth, namely the Buddhist attitude to cloning, being reborn as a small animal, where spirits get their knowledge from. So the first question today comes from Erica Cummings of Highbury in the UK. Here comes the question. Do Buddhists have a problem with cloning? Hi Erica, and thanks for your question. At the heart of answering your question, I need to assert that geneticists might be able to clone bodies, but they can't clone minds. So, supposing you get some sheep called Dolly and you clone its cells and you make a new sheep called Dolly 2 or whatever. The mental component which will come along and inhabit Dolly 2's body is not a clone of the mental component from Dolly. It's a completely independent mental component attracted in because it has a suitable level of karma to arise in that body of a sheep. The same principle would apply to the cloning of human beings. Many Christians have real problems with cloning humans because they see it as playing God, since they understand it as creating life. However, Buddhists believe that far from it needing to be created, those mental components are already floating around in the ether, waiting to be reborn. They don't need anyone to create new ones. They are just waiting for a vacant body to match up with their karma. It's not because of the decision of some geneticist who has initiated the cloning. So, in Buddhism, we don't have a problem with cloning, because in any case, you don't reproduce minds. The premise from such movies as The Little Buddha, where the mental component of a single person like Lama Dorje can be reborn simultaneously into 3 different bodies, only confuses the issue. So, we don't expect anyone to be able to clone a person's mind into a second body. The only equivalent to this idea I've found in Buddhism is the mental power of those who are enlightened to project many emanations of themselves, otherwise known as manomayiti, to allow a single person to appear to be in many places at once. So we come to the two related questions, this time from Nathaniel French of Riverside, California. Here comes the questions. Firstly, how small a life form can support free will and consciousness, and secondly, what retribution leads to rebirth as a small animal? Hi Nathaniel, and thank you for your questions. Let me start by saying that as far as I know, a louse seems to be the smallest life form mentioned as having proper free will in the Buddhist scriptures. If you remember back to the story I told you about the monk sewing his robe, that's the smallest I've heard of. To my knowledge, the Buddha didn't specify exactly how small a being could be reborn, but he did say that personally he made the wish during his previous rebirths that he would never be born as an animal smaller than a bird, because the chances of a smaller animal appreciating the difference between good and bad is very slim, even compared to a regular animal. So as a bird, maybe you can have the chance to be a compassionate bird, but once you get smaller than that, to be an ant or whatever, it becomes increasingly hard to pursue good deeds, which means that you've wasted that lifetime in your career of cultivating good deeds and perfections. As for the second part of the question about the retribution leading one to be reborn as a small animal, the cause may have been killing a similar sort of animal in one's previous life. If you kill a certain animal, according to the Buddhist belief, then you are born as that same kind of animal to be killed by others for as many lifetimes as there are hairs on the body of the animal. So if you kill a dog, then however many hairs there are on the body of a dog, you are reborn for that many lifetimes as a dog for others to kill. And if it's a mosquito you've killed in the absence of hairs to count, then maybe you will be reborn for 500 lifetimes as a mosquito for others to kill you. Lastly, we come to the question from Max Hardy of Liverpool, UK, which is, from where do spirits get their knowledge when they are supposed to be less enlightened than humans? To explain how spiritual mediums can get knowledge from beyond the grave. Hi Max, and thank you for your question. It would appear that the special knowledge available to spirits that communicates through a medium can be accounted for by the fact that spirits normally live for a very long time, since they are denizens of the first level of heaven, which live much longer than humans. Like I mentioned, 1 day, 1 night in heaven is equal to 50 days and 50 nights in the human realm. So their length of lifespan is much longer than us. Their knowledge thus extends across the equivalent of many of our human lifetimes. So the things they know extend into the past and the future for a very long time. Also, spirits talk to each other, so they are in contact with spirits from different parts of the world, which extends the range of their network. I should warn everyone, though, as amazing as it may seem, to draw on spiritualist knowledge. In Buddhism, we don't encourage people to indulge in this because every time someone becomes possessed by a spirit in order to access its knowledge, they lose control of their awareness, and this is very dangerous. That is why such divination is called black arts, because it's not compatible with the pathway towards enlightenment. So therefore, if someone has meddled with spiritualism in the past, normally we try to encourage them to stop doing this and instead to practice the white arts of the pathway towards purity, which also has access to the same supra-human knowledge, but in a way that doesn't create unwholesome mental traits from the dark side. For today, let me finish up with a quick mention about temple support and a news update about the availability of meditation teaching in English. For those of you who like to visit the temple in Azusa to bring offerings, Please be informed that we are still using the offering site in the parking lot next to the main temple building between 10 and 11 a.m. each day. If you have trouble with the passcode on the gate or wish to visit at a different time, please call Jenny on 562-716-2961. There will be at least one monk on standby in PPE to receive your offering and give you a short blessing. English-speaking monks will be on duty on most weekdays. A short ceremony for 5 precepts, meditation, and a blessing are given on the weekends starting at 10:45 a.m. For those unable to visit in person, all the other ways of accepting money transfers to DIMC are still available, whether it be mailing checks, bank transfer, Zelle, or Venmo. Needless to say, the whole temple would like to rejoice in the merits of all continuing to take the opportunity to support the temple in this way. Meditation continues to be valuable in tackling lockdown fatigue. And in this respect, despite relegation to the yellow tier, here at the temple, there are still no face-to-face teaching sessions for the interim. You can, however, continue to access Dhamma teachings in English through several convenient channels. For aficionados of Zoom meetings, you can access the Inner Peace channel content by joining the Zoom channel ID 970-1192-2337, and the meeting passcode is 072. And as you will see from the program schedule on the slide, content is available for most of the day now, 7 days a week, and brings together all the usual programming from our temple here in Azusa with the English and Spanish content from the various branches across the US. The times shown on the slide are for the West Coast. For content local to Azusa, you can continue to follow teachings at the YouTube channel called Peace Point Meditation or the Facebook page of Peace Point Meditation. For those of you who are particularly interested in my talks, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, which I've set up in my own name. According to the current Peace Point schedule, every Sunday morning you have got me with live material and archived material on alternating Sundays. Venerable Sopon appears every Thursday evening. Monday and Friday Peace Silence sessions from Peace Point have been postponed for the interim owing to even more teaching monks being away in Thailand. Families listening in may be interested in a special show for children in English known as Shining Stars that goes out between 6 to 6:30 p.m. every Monday evening with bedtime stories and a meditation short enough to keep the attention of our younger listeners. Outside the live streams and on-demand programming, you can also download the MindGem app for free, allowing you to listen to meditation and Dharma talks in English on your cell phone even when you are offline. It now has push notifications to keep you up to date with upcoming activities on the Inner Peace channel, and it now has up to 100 different audio tracks to choose from. So this session we have looked at the topic of before birth. For my next live session online with you, which will, fingers crossed, be a week on Sunday morning, we'll be moving on to look at something along the lines of the 10 perfections. For good measure, I would like to remind viewers that you can email your questions about meditation or what you've heard in the lecture to the email address as you can see spelled out in the slide, and I will do my best to answer these on my next session. In the meantime, try to stay healthy, avoid recklessness or complacency in the face of the virus, maintain a positive mood, speak only positive words, forgive others, extend wishes to others, and meditate daily. Hopefully, as a result of today's session, you will now realize the precious privilege of being born human and take full advantage of this short human life to cultivate good deeds to the full. So today, this is me, Phra Nicholas Thanissaro, signing off for this session. So long, folks, and stay safe.